It's aged very, very badly in my.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
to come at it from a fresh perspective.
well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I wonder how much this is going to stand up. So. Hello and welcome to Lights, Camera, Aggro, the podcast with two friends, one film and very little agreement. I'm Nicky and I want to jump off the roof.
And I'm Phil. Fuck is a fuck and a boat is a boat. We're back with our favourite coffee shop and it's Nicky's turn to share the movie she loves. Today she's chosen the 1989 film Shirley Valentine.
So we'll do that in a minute, but first of all, how has your week been?
Really busy. Busy with work and busy with my other YouTube stuff. Had a really, really good video go out this week. That's been extremely popular. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm sharing a car with my partner, so that's annoying because I'm having to negotiate when I want to go out, which I do not like doing. So there's a logistical element to my week at the moment. But yeah, it's been good. My patio saga, which if anyone ever reads my blogs will have followed for months, is over. The patio's done and I sat outside and had my tea last night, so that was nice.
In the scorching heat, and
well,
you absolutely hate the heat.
It was a nice breeze by the time I went outside, but yeah, it's also too hot to be in the house this week, so happy days. Before we start, remember this is going to be full of spoilers. If you haven't seen Shirley Valentine, even though you should have done, now's the time to pause the pod and come back to when you're done. We'll be waiting.
So, why did you choose Shirley Valentine?
Right, cast your mind back to Christmas 1992. And this film premiered on Christmas Day, 9:50 p.m, BBC One. I checked it, and I knew I'd watched it around about this time of year. I knew it was a Christmas film. I knew I'd watched it around about 92, because I was 14. And I think it's one of those films where it's like a double whammy when you watch a film at Christmas as a youth. It's Christmas, so it's happy and glowy and you're having all lovely times. Most of the time. But also, there's just something about these films at that age where you soak up everything. And I soaked up everything about this film. And watching it this last week for the millionth time, but watching it with an analytical eye made me realise how much of my views this film has informed. It really has kind of made me have the views I've had for a very long time since I was a teenager. So we'll discuss that as we go. But it was fascinating to watch. And I think at age 14, watching this, I soaked up all the messaging. But I loved it. I thought it was funny at the time. I thought it was always cool when it's it's set in Liverpool. It's not necessarily filmed in Liverpool. We'll talk about that later. But it's definitely set in Liverpool, which is where I was living near at the time. And certainly 50% of my family are from Liverpool, and it's an area I knew well as a child. All I knew about the film before I watched it was my maths teacher, Mrs. Simmons, at high school would say things like, one day I'm going to do a Shirley Valentine and I'll be in Greece and I won't be marking these books type thing. She used to say it all the time, and that's all the only reference I knew was that Shirley Valentine goes to Greece and leaves everyone. That was what I knew. So when I watched it, I sort of got the gist of it. But yeah, that was basically it. I loved it from the first time I saw it, and I've watched it a gazillion times since, and I can quote it all. How about you?
So,
there we go.
This is the first time of watching this.
Okay.
Obviously, I'd heard the references, things like that in the past. Knew that it was about a housewife who goes to a holiday to have a romance, and that is about as much as I knew without actually watching it first.
Okay. So when I watched it back then, I'd already seen, so it's by Willy Russell, we should say, who I do very much enjoy his stuff. And they feel like a real sort of, almost like period pieces now, which I'm not sure if if that comes across as a criticism, but I don't mean it to be. They are a point in time, and they're a Liverpool point in time. So before this, I'd seen Our Day Out, which is a school trip to Wales from a Liverpool school, which my dad, who taught in a school in Liverpool at the time, had sort of made me watch because he said this is really funny. I also knew Educating Rita, although I'm not sure if I'd watched it at that point. But he writes these, they're always plays as well to start with. He writes these plays that are about people in a situation that want more and want to change their situation.
So, well, what's quite funny now is you say that he writes plays. the opening scene where she's talking in the kitchen and talking to what felt very much like a play.
It is a complete play.
Rather than, like a film. Not a criticism, just an observation.
Well, this play, which I have actually seen since the film was the first thing I saw. This play is a one-woman monologue. There are no other characters in it. We basically I watched it a couple of years ago with Sheridan Smith, and she just talks to the audience, to the wall, makes the chips and egg, and it's monologue, and she'll talk about Joe, and she'll do his voice, and she'll talk about other characters, and she'll do their voices, and she'll do their mannerisms, and it's such a good, fascinating. I mean, it must be a real juicy role for an actress to take on. Sheridan Smith was brilliant. She cooked chips and egg live on stage as she was doing it, so all that was amazing to just be part of as well. But it was just one conversation. We've talked around. We need to get into the beginning of the film. You've talked a little bit about it, and I think you've jumped the gun because what you've missed is the fantastic opening titles.
It's aged very, very badly in my
Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
To come at it from a fresh perspective.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I wonder how much this is going to stand up. So, I think this is one of the most heartbreaking songs ever. It's a bit cheesy.
It felt very, very cheesy.
It's a bit cheesy.
Very.
But it's called The Girl Who Used to Be Me, and it is illustrated by these sort of pictures of a housewife doing chores. There's a sort of, and they're all kind of quite sort of pale, or like a blue, sad kind of colour, mournful. She's scrubbing the steps, she's ironing, she's just doing all these household chores, and the lyrics are about how she used to have fun, basically. She used to want to fly, and now she doesn't know who she is anymore, type thing. And it sums up what the film's about. It really does in lyrics. I love that song. It's a bit of I don't know, it just feels so poignantly sad. It feels like it would be an amazing karaoke sort of banger to do in a sort of really cool gay bar. I just think it's fab. It's so poignant and heartfelt and sad. Oh,
and I just couldn't wait for it to.
Didn't like it.
No.
I am interested as well if there's a gender dynamic in this.
Well, there probably will be.
Yeah, I think there will be.
Yeah.
Because this made me just ache for that woman, basically. And at 14, made me very clear that I do not want to be that woman. And I think there's a lot of women who, certainly then, this is like, the film's from 1989, and the play is from a bit before that. There's a lot of women, I think, who are in marriages like that, and they're not abusive. They're just gender roles where there's expectation that you just stay at home and do the housework and bring up the kids, and the husband goes off to work. It's all very heteronormative, we should point out. There's an element that was much more clear cut back in the 80s, I think, rather than now. But also I think there's probably still some people like that now, and that's grim. But 14-year-old me lapped that shit up. So we see Pauline Collins, who plays Shirley Bradshaw. Not a Scouser, I don't think. I think she does a pretty good voice. She's a pretty good accent.
Was Kitty's.
Yeah.
Some of the others.
We can talk about the others, right? But I think she does a pretty good job of being authentic. And she's a married mum of 2 grown-up kids. And we see her coming home with shopping bags. She's done the groceries. She walks the house, goes to the kitchen, pours a glass of wine, and talks to the wall. Now, how do you feel about the talking to the wall part of this conceit all the way through?
No issue. Do you know what? So, within this first scene, when she starts talking to the wall and stuff,
and talking to us through the camera, but the wall too.
I really like that aspect of the film.
Yeah.
One of the things I enjoyed, breaking the fourth wall, talking to us. I thought that worked really, really well.
And it's sort of a nod to how it is on stage, because she talks to the audience, like that. She does talk to the wall as well, but also the drudgery of there's no one to talk to at home, so she talks to the wall.
Yeah, I thought it worked really well.
And basically, just to sum up, we'll go into more detail, but the first half, pretty much, of the film is Shirley cooking the evening meal, which is chips and egg, and she, from scratch, peeling the potatoes out of the groceries and, frying the eggs and getting the whole meal ready. And as she's doing that, in sort of, not quite real time, but it feels like that, she is talking about her story, her life so far. She's telling us who she is, basically. And we see little flashbacks jumping in all the way through this meal preparation. So that's the first half of the film, while she's in the kitchen talking to the world. She's telling us about herself, and we see flashbacks and snippets of her life.
Yeah, I thought that worked really well.
Yeah.
I thought it was handled well, and looking at how she perceives her neighbours, how neighbours perceive her, just little snippets like that.
So from her monologue, we learn that her husband is Joe, Bernard Hill, and he's going to be fuming because it's steak on a Thursday.
And nobody can be even a Bernard Hill. I'm sorry. He was
very good in this, though, wasn't he? Do you not think?
He's very good at everything.
He is. Yeah. But I thought he was very good in this. I'm trying to pin you down to an opinion here.
I'm trying to not reveal too much.
Okay. I think he's very good in this, and I think he plays a grumpy old bastard really well in lots of other things too. And this feels to me like, I don't know, again, maybe because I was the right age for this at the time. It could be any one of my friends' dads. He just could be. And I think in terms of age, he probably would be the right age. We can discuss later on if he's like abusive or awful or horrible, or is he just in his same way constrained like Shirley is by the gender role he's been given. Who knows? But yeah, he's basically going to be fuming. She knows this because he's getting chips and egg and not steak for his tea, and Thursday night is steak night. And it's worth remembering, it is worth remembering, at one point Shirley does tell us she's 42. She's really young.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not when you're 20, but it is when I'm 47. But I feel quite young still, and I know technically I'm not, but I certainly don't feel like my life is over, or, my situation is just kind of a dead end and this is it till I die, which is pretty much what she says at one point. They're all before their time.
One of the things I will say with age, in terms of watching films back like this, hair and costumes age them very, very much.
That
hair should never be on somebody who's 42, but
no.
It shows you how much we've changed.
Because it was then. Yeah. That was authentic then. Yeah, I agree. It just blows my mind how young they actually would be at this point.
So have you got to the bit where the steak actually went?
No, not yet.
Okay. Because I have picked up on something.
Okay. Well, we're nearly there. Basically, Shirley and Joe seem to live in quite a nice area, and I say that because, well, it's a nice enough house. And I was sort of wondering, and I know it's not filmed in Liverpool, this is actually filmed in Twickenham, which is random, I know.
It does look like a Liverpool house.
It does so. This is my point. Where do you think they're supposed to live? That was my question. We've got a bit of Liverpool knowledge. Where do you think?
I would say Wavertree or somewhere like that.
I was thinking Mussley Hill.
Yeah,
similar area. Because they've got a posh neighbour, Gillian, and she's proper posh. I mean, what's her name? Julia Mackenzie.
Ridiculous.
She's so. And I'm thinking, does anybody live there? Like, living around town like that? Hello, Shirley.
She's basically Mrs. Bouquet before Mrs. Bouquet.
Yeah.
Bouquet.
Yeah. So we see Gillian come across, and she does have that sort of very clipped. Hello, Shirley. I was wondering, can I just have a moment of your time? She asks if Shirley could feed their bloodhound because her and her husband are going to bloody Brussels.
Bloody Brussels.
Such a bore.
Nowhere interesting.
Well, this implies that he's some sort of, I don't know, diplomat or something. It makes me laugh. Because Gillian references, in her little sort of chat on the doorstep, she references solar energy, veganism, and Brussels.
Yeah, so big up for the film of mentioning veganism back
but it's done as a joke. It's like,
I know, but it's still referencing back in the day.
But I think at that point, the fact that Gillian and her husband are vegan, and they've replaced the panels with solar energy, and they've got to fly to bloody Brussels. It's like, that's a piss take on how annoying she is, because only annoying people would be vegan, I think, in that theory.
Right, so I will reference this in a second, but carry on.
Oh, okay. So do you want to talk about the steak?
No, yeah, I want to talk about the bit with the steak.
Okay, well, we're jumping forward because we don't see that bit yet, but if you want to talk about the steak, the reason that Shirley doesn't have steak for Joe that night is because she feeds it to the vegan bloodhound because he needs blood. That's what she reckons.
So, at the moment when she's feeding the dog the steak, she kneels down. And it's badly dubbed. I don't know if you picked up.
Okay, we can talk about this.
It said, she went a veggie burger or something.
Yes.
Like that. Now, I'm wondering if the scene, and I didn't pick up on it at the time where she mentioned solar panels and veganism, is dubbed also.
No, I can tell you what's happened there. I'm pretty sure it's because American audiences had changed words. There's a few examples all the way through. So, for example, I do mention this later on, but I'll say it now. So, later on, when she's talking about to her holidaymaker friend, where do you think your boozy came from?
Yeah.
And the voice says Kmart, but the mouths MFI.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's an American audience situation.
Okay, because I did watch this on a streaming service, and there's several instances throughout the movie where it is dubbed.
Absolutely.
Stuff, and I was like, the hell's going on?
It's definitely that.
And I was thinking, is it a case of like something that's been said, fuck them, would offend people now?
No, I don't think so. It's Americanisms that they put in Americanisms or they take out. I think the version I saw, which is one I bought on iTunes a few years ago, is you hear the American words or the American friendly words and you see the mouthing of the British specifics.
Yeah, so that really
it's funny. I know it does. It's slightly annoying.
What is going on?
Yeah, it is annoying. Anyway, so we're still getting Shirley, the flashbacks of Shirley's life while she's still cooking tea. So they talk about her daughter, Melandra, and basically about how Melandra and her mates are kind of sex mad. And she's like, oh, fair play to them, it was all different in my day. And so you see flashback of her and her friends at the sort of similar age, 20-odd, not really knowing what a clitoris was, calling it a clitoris and all that kind of thing. And there's all like riffs on like, oh, I thought that's a new Cortina and all this kind of thing. It's all very jokey about the fact that her age group and her peers didn't have a clue about sex, but youths today do, and fair play to them, she says.
I thought all these scenes worked really well.
Yeah, it's a nice way to do it. It's a nice way to tell the story.
Like, as you say, the first half of the film, I mean, if you think about it, that could come across pretty boring. And it's not, it's very snappy, it's very quick. And like, I think, is the runtime something like 1 hour 48?
Something like that, it's not crazy.
I had a look. And I've gone 50 minutes through the film. It felt like about 10 minutes.
Well, that's it. And you're right, the UK stuff, the Liverpool stuff is very short and snappy, and a lot of information is thrown at you. Yeah. So we see about Melandra's mates, and we see Shirley's mates then when she was 20. And there's a really sort of poignant bit, because there's poignancy all the way through this, through the humour. And when the flashback of her mates from the 20s is over, she's still peeling the potatoes, and she just says, they were great, those mates. I don't see them anymore. And her face to the camera, she sort of pulls a sort of a, well, so be it face. And that's how it is. That's how we are. And it's just sad. And then she carries on. And it's just like, oh, there's real poignancy going on. But she's cracking on because she's got potatoes to peel and a life to live. And that is the point of the film, really. It's about, and it's the opening titles lay it out. It's how growing older means you move away from who you are and what you actually want, what makes you happy. It's like, it's sort of discussing how you get into a rut so far, you can't even see that you're in a rut because you're so far into it. So then we see her talking about her son Brian.
Oh, yes.
Harsh. He lives in a squat in Kirby.
Yeah, he's looking Kirby location you could possibly put.
It's somewhere in the East End of London. I was looking on the IMDb at all the places.
Cobbled streets.
It's not Kirby.
Cobbled streets in Kirby, I
know, it does make me laugh. But she does say, can't you pick somewhere nice? If you're in a squat, can't you pick somewhere nice like Wilton or Childwall? Which makes me laugh.
You see that.
And he's a street poet, and we see him perform to two young joyriders who tell him to piss off.
Yeah. That was actually quite amusing, that.
It was, yeah.
Don't steal a car.
Yeah. It's funny. And we also see a flashback as well, which again sort of adds to the poignancy of her and Joe as a young couple doing their house up, their first home, painting. And they're laughing and joking, and they end up having a bit of a paint fight where they're splashing paint at each other from across the room, and then you see them getting it on in the bath. And it's just, this is her Shirley Valentine. She's not Shirley Bradshaw here, she's Shirley Valentine. She still knows who she is.
So it's the least looking paint I've ever seen. It looks more like flour and water.
Okay, sorry, handy-handed.
Also, in my bingo card for the day, I didn't expect to see Pauline Collins naked in a bath. Got through quite a bit.
Yeah, it's through you.
I wasn't expecting nudity in this film.
There's nudity. Yeah, no, I just think it shows where they were. So they were happy once. It's not like they've always been this grumpy couple.
There's no complaints about the paint fight scene. Or I just thought, who's going to clean that up? How do you?
I know, but they don't care about stuff like that. We're in love.
Like I say, it just looked like flour and water. Especially the close-up shots didn't look like paint at all.
So back in the kitchen again, we're forwards and backwards all the time. She's Shirley Bradshaw. She's now kind of boring, middle-aged and unhappy. I say middle-aged with inverted commas. She's 42. I suppose technically it's middle-aged, but it's a state of mind, definitely. And when she was Shirley Valentine, she was fun and daring and joyful, and there's a real dichotomy between the two states. And we finally see present-day Joe. Bernard Hill walks in, back from work, and he just makes me laugh. He sticks his head around the kitchen door. He can't come in. It's not his territory. So he's not comfortable in that room. He sticks his head around and goes, like, where's my tea? And it does make me laugh how, as grumpy as he is and as irritating as he would be to be married to, she's not scared of him. So it's not, I don't think he's abusive. This is a thing I come back to all the time, particularly as we watch it as an older person. I don't think he's abusive. He just does shitty things. So she stands up to him and is like, oh, news at 10, Joe eats late. She's sort of taking the piss. So I feel like she's safe. It's okay. I don't need to worry about her in that area. I just need to worry that she's not living her full life. That's different. Have you got thoughts on that, or are you going to wait to the end?
Wait to the end.
Oh, lordy, okay. So yeah, he wants his tea on the table at the time he wants it, because that's what he expects, and that's ridiculous, but that's how it is. So she says, 15 minutes, go and sit down. So he goes out. Then we have another flashback. We meet her feminist friend, Jane. Alison Steadman, who is a national treasure, and who is also from Liverpool, thank you very much. So her accent was bob on, because it was not as... It's a normal sort of one, like people have, rather than the kind of thing. It makes me laugh how the idea of a feminist, a bit like the idea of a vegan, is like a sort of outlier to society. And maybe back then it was.
Back then it was.
Maybe.
I was just about to say that.
She's a feminist because, well, she basically says all men are potential rapists, which, I'm not necessarily.
They're looking at some young youth who's just drinking a cup of coffee.
He's undressing you with his eyes.
Yeah, he's not even looking at it.
It is funny. But I do also think that all women are feminists, unless they actively opt out of it, because we all want to be treated equally, but whatever. That's my debate for another time. But Jane, very quickly, really, considering this is like a sort of the premise of the whole story or the plot point, she says that she's won a holiday to tattoo in Greece, and she wants Shirley to come. It's literally it's done and dusted in a sentence, and that's kind of a bit of a surprise to Shirley. She hasn't got any. She can't go. She's got Joe to look after. She's got her kids. She hasn't got a passport. But Shirley is like, yeah, come on, you can. And there is literally nothing to stop her. She doesn't work. Her kids have grown up, and Joe is a grown adult. So of course she can go on holiday with her mate if she wants to. This is like my 21st century eyes looking at it, but of course she can. But she feels all these pressures not to. But Jane convinces her, basically doesn't take no for an answer. So then we see a bit of a montage of her being pushed around town, getting passport photos and shopping. And we forget, well, it reminded me how back then, 1989, people didn't go on holiday abroad as much. It was a real big deal.
It was very expensive back in the day.
There were no EasyJets and Ryanairs. And just, I don't know, my parents didn't have passports till I was an adult. They got them then because they're not going on holiday. Again, I suppose when it got cheap, and also when their kids grew up a bit more. But yeah, getting a passport was not everyone had one, and going on holiday. And also, you notice it when she does actually go. People dressed up for flights.
Yeah.
And that makes me laugh. I remember watching the Christmas special of Bread once. It's years ago. That would be the 80s. Mrs. Boswell, they all go, the whole family go on abroad, basically. And Mrs. Boswell was wearing a hat or something for the plane, or something you'd wear for a wedding, the outfit. And so does Shirley when you see her getting ready, going to the airport. It just is fascinating. There's no leggings and hoodie, and sitting there with unwashed hair or whatever. It's mad.
18 top because you don't want to be up.
It's just really interesting. A kind of, again, this is a sort of a period piece, highlighting what it was like then, because that felt very reminiscent and accurate. And I think there are some solid gags in this script. I think they're dated, some of them maybe, but they're solid gags. It is a bit like a stand-up routine. Certainly when you see it on stage, it is as well. Yeah, I think sex is like supermarkets, overrated. It's just a lot of pushing and shoving, and you still come out with very little at the end. It's a stand-up gag from the 80s. It's it's fine. It's a bit dated now.
It still works.
But it's just funny jokes all the way through, amid the poignance.
But I think the actress, obviously Pauline Collins, her way of delivering a line,
absolutely,
where so even if the joke is a flat joke by today's standards, it still hits.
She gives it.
She's really good in the role.
And we're still seeing her cook the tea because she's running late. So we now have another flashback, and this is Shirley at school. And I feel dead sorry for her at school. She's treated like shit by the staff. And she, as a result, she doesn't give a shit. So it's a sort of chicken and egg situation, maybe. But she has a nemesis called Marjorie Majors, who's the posh, clever blonde girl. And
who's always next to her.
Always next to her. Whenever
she's next to her. In the assembly. So one of the issues that in the assembly, you go sit by your mates. That's what always happens. But in this,
is it?
she's next.
Oh, hello. Not in my school.
In my school, you go sit by your mates.
We would be actively split up if we sat with our mates, because that would be chatting and stuff.
Well, I went to a good school then.
Really? Oh, lols. Anyway, So Marjorie Majors is her nemesis, and we see a kind of particularly heated thing where she bursts her souffle in home ec.
Yes.
Which I don't know.
You're missing the assembly scene where she puts her hand up to answer the question and she gets ignored because the teacher going, you won't know the answer.
Yeah.
And then she does actually know the answer. The teacher gets a comment saying, someone must have
told you.
And how the hell are you going to learn that if you're not being told?
Absolutely. And she's treated really badly by the teachers. I feel dead sorry for her. It is unfair. And I think it's Sylvia Sims is the teacher, and she's just a horrible teacher. But then we cut to, it's still a flashback, but it's cut to a present day flashback of presumably some weeks before. And we see adult Shirley bump into Marjorie Majors, who's played by Joanna Lumley.
Now, so, other thing, why, whenever they were looking for the posh blonde English woman in the 80s, did they always turn to Joanna Lumley?
I mean, she's the only one that exists.
Literally the only actress who could possibly play a posh.
She's the only person that we go to. And so they have afternoon tea in her hotel suite. And I thought for years it was the Adelphi, but it isn't. It's another hotel. It's somewhere. It's not in Liverpool. It's not in Liverpool, yeah. I always thought it was the Adelphi. I think it's meant to be the Adelphi.
Yeah, but the Adelphi doesn't have covers over it.
No,
like
maybe.
It did look reminiscent like the Ritz, because I was trying to figure out where it was,
It'll say somewhere on the internet. Yeah, there is a site that has all the locations.
But great, this is a great scene.
Yeah.
I love this scene.
So they catch up, and it's all awkward at first. So the reason that she has afternoon tea with this because Joanna Lumley's car is like splattered with water, so she feels bad, so she has to go in and get changed in her hotel room. And they're having afternoon tea, and it's all a bit polite and nice and a bit awkward. And Shirley has always assumed, for some reason, that Marjorie Majors became an air hostess, because that was always...
She travels.
And she said she travels.
Yeah.
And it turned out that is not the case. Joanna Lumley explains, oh my goodness, I'm a hooker.
Yeah.
In a very posh voice. I'm a hooker.
Which absolutely made me laugh. And then you got the cliched maid who's pouring the tea, pouring it over the...
Yeah. I'm so sorry, madam.
Yeah, I mean, that's very, very cliched, is it? But it actually worked. I thought, obviously, Joanna Lumley, again, national treasure.
Yeah.
Really good, the delivery of, and stuff.
And it breaks the ice completely, and they just both laugh about their past. They share the photo albums out, they share memories. And
this actually made me laugh because they're in a hotel room, and suddenly Joanna Lumley has a photo album at hand of them in school.
Oh, you've been too literal about this. Just go with it. But it's really nice because they mend bridges.
Yeah, I liked how Shirley said, I was only horrible to you in school because I wanted to be you. And then Joanna Lumley's character said, well, I actually wanted to be you.
And that's basically the crux of everybody who doesn't get on with anyone, isn't it? There's a kind of a recognition of that. But what's lovely at the end of this scene, they sort of say goodbye, and it's really lovely and a really warm sort of farewell. But it does send Shirley into a bit of a turmoil. You see her getting the bus home and then walking in, it's raining, and she just looks, she's in tears because she's remembered who she was.
Yeah.
And there's been probably a long time since she's had to do that. So when Marjorie says goodbye, Shirley Valentine, that's sort of the reminder of, oh God, where did she go? So she walks home. It's like the first realisation maybe where she's unhappily married. She's changed, Joe's changed, and she says to the camera, to us, well, why don't I leave? And she says she's terrified, she's got nowhere to go, what would she do? And it does feel that real kind of, this is it forever, she can't see any way out. So we are now at the point where it's time for tea. Chips and egg are now ready. And Joe comes in finally and sits down at the kitchen table, and he's just a grumpy old fella. He really is. And I think Bernard Hill plays him very well, because I just found him very believable. I don't know, I always have found him believable. And he looks utterly confused at his plate, because this is like unheard of. It's Thursday. Where's the steak? And she sort of goes, well, just have chips and egg. No, I want me steak. And so she eventually blurts out, I gave it the dog. And he then kicks off, and it's a proper row. And then she says, I'm going to Greece, and shows him a post that she's had in her back of the pantry door.
And he's covered in egg.
Yeah, because
covered in egg.
But he goes, oh, is this why you're giving me chips and egg? Because you want me to take you to Greece? So I'm not bloody doing it. And he shoves his plate right across the table, and it falls into her lap, and she's covered. And I think this is really an unforgivable moment from him in terms of his behaviour. I think I just think he's horrible in that moment. She spent the last hour making that meal, do you know what I mean? He's come in, he's had an hour sitting in front of the telly, and So, I don't know. I can't stand him in that moment. Are you saving all? You're being tight-lipped. Are you saving all your feelings for later?
Yeah, I'll mention it in the wrap-up at the end.
Great. Well, tune in for that. It's exciting. So yeah, I think it's a pivotal moment for her as well, because she's now emboldened. She goes shopping on her own. She's getting ready for Greece, and we see her on her own in sort of, I don't know, I guess it's like a Marks and Spencer's or somewhere where she's buying knickers.
That was actually really funny. Yeah.
And Gillian, who works there, I guess.
I don't know if she was working there or if she was just shopping there. I presume she was shopping.
Oh, I thought she worked there, but then I feel like Gillian wouldn't work. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Gillian would just be. But the thing is, you're looking back to the days where it was very typical of the man to work and the woman stay at home.
House prices were cheaper for one salary.
Yeah,
it's basically what we're looking at there.
So,
the economy.
And especially with Gillian's husband being a jet setter going off.
Bloody Brussels.
Yeah, I would imagine that they had enough salary to not have her work.
Yeah, you're right. I've always assumed she comes up. The way she picks up the knickers out of her hand and touches them makes me feel like, oh, these are just stock to her, but maybe she's just really intrusive.
Yeah, really intrusive. It's like, oh, it's not silk.
No.
Once you've had silk, you can't.
Wait, you can't mistake it for the real, unless you knew the real thing. It just makes me laugh. She's lording it over all the time. What I like is that Shirley then just thinks, oh, fuck this, and she goes, oh no, I won't be wearing them for me. I'll be wearing them for my Greek lover. Yes. I'm going to be touring the islands, just me and my lover. And she just does it to sort of take the piss, basically, because
she throws them ones down.
Yeah,
picks up a sexy black pair.
Yeah.
Well, an 80s sexy black pair.
Whatever turns you on, Phil. But yeah, it's definitely a comment on how I think society sees women of a certain age, because the idea, in Shirley's mind, the idea that Gillian will believe that is nonsense. Yeah. Because of course she's not. Of course she's talking.
No, but she's actually shocked. She looks shocked,
yeah.
Gillian. So I do think she does believe her.
Well, we know she does later, but at the time she just thinks, oh, what, whatever. The day of the flight arrives. And Shirley's all dressed up, and she's sort of stressed. She's sort of going, passport tickets, money, which I say that to myself. Because of this film, I say that to myself whenever I go on holiday. Passport tickets, money. But her daughter, rings the doorbell, turns up, Melandra. She's had a row with her flatmate.
Yeah.
And she's back to stay. Isn't that great? Right. Welcome back, Melandra.
Absolute arsehole.
The daughter, yeah.
Daughter,
I know.
Absolute arsehole.
Well,
never looks at her mother.
No.
Once. make me a hot chocolate. Leaves her bag outside. When she makes the hot chocolate, she says, "You've only put 2 sugars in, not 3. Go put another one in." And I was just. Unless she wants us to throttle her.
Yeah, she's awful. Yeah. But I think she's meant to be awful.
Obviously meant to be awful.
I mean, I also think we're seeing a little bit of your home life coming in, that your daughter's just come back to live with you after uni. So maybe this will bubble into the service.
Hang on, it's my turn.
But yeah, definitely, she's awful. And Shirley kind of starts getting her drinks and getting her bags in and everything, and suddenly stops and goes, "What on earth am I doing?"
This is the snapping point, I think, where she just goes, "Do you know what? I'm doing this for me." You see it.
And so ultimately she tells Melandra she's going to Greece, and she realises it's a bit of a thing, a bit of a sort of an announcement, because she sort of does it with a bit of a nervous laugh, and Melandra freaks out. She's like, "What does my dad have to say about this?" And you think, well, sod what your dad says also. But yeah, it's that idea that there's no way that her mum could possibly have feelings of her own about wanting to go to Greece, all this kind of thing. And so Shirley's confidence takes a setback. Melandra storms off. And she's all set to ring Jane to cancel. She's just thinking, no, this is too much. And she sort of looks herself in the mirror and goes, "You're 42, Shirley." She's sort of, come on. But then the doorbell rings again, and it is Gillian.
The redemption.
Oh, lovely Gillian. It's Gillian, and I just love Julie Mackenzie. She has brought a gift, and it is a really nice, I still think this is very nice. It's not sort of dated, frumpy 80s clothes. It's like a kind of silk kimono kind of thing, or a sort of a what do you call it? Not
real,
a robe.
Real silk.
It's real silk, but like a robe or something. But it's lovely, and it's all in tissue paper in a box. And she gives it to her, and she basically, through quite tearful, kind of choked up eyes, says, "I was never brave enough." And you think, oh God, she's felt the same. She's felt the same feelings, and she's wanted to escape, and she hasn't. And you think, yeah, and I do think this. I wonder whether this is a gender divide here, in the sense that this must resonate with a lot of women. And Gillian, basically gives Shirley the confidence to think. She looks again, Christ, you're only 42. You know, she sort of reframes it. And Gillian's words of, I think you're marvellous. I love the way she says it. I think you're marvellous.
It's like the whole redemption of it in one small
It is,
scene.
but she does her job well, because Shirley is now ready. The push she needed has been given, and she's off to Greece. And before we go to Greece, the last little bit of the UK part of the story is later on, and it's pissing down with rain, and Jo comes home to a dark house, and she's gone. And that's the first bit over. And now we're in Greece.
So what I will say, as they get off the flight,
Okay.
you couldn't have got a fight with a bigger bunch of arseholes and knobheads.
Okay. Well, okay.
It's just like, you know, obviously they show it, I think it's about 4 to 6 characters who come to play, and everyone is annoying,
But
and meant to be annoying
They are.
as well.
And my argument would be, is that not the worry you have with a package holiday, when you're all coming from the same airport and end up in the same hotel, and people that you might pass in the street in Manchester are now in the same place for you on holiday?
One of the funny things of package hotels is when you get on that coach and you're arriving at a shit hotel and you go, please don't let this be us, please don't let this be us, when you get off. And then when the people actually get off, the sense of relief as the coach goes on to the next one.
Absolutely.
I remember that feeling well. Went on quite a few package holidays with mum and dad to Greece as well.
Oh, you see, now here's what I want to say. I've never been to Greece.
Oh, I've been to Greece plenty of times.
Oh, well, this is very good. It's good. This is good that we have a real life person in this conversation, because what I will say about this, the second it flips to Greece and the music is, so I guess, Greek. I've got queries about a lot of the Greek part, I have to say, but I will raise them in a minute. The music sounds like it's meant to be Greek, and you see the sort of the shoreline and the sweeping curve of the bay, and you see, you know, the sun and the light. It is, for me at 14, it felt like paradise. It felt like, this is gorgeous. I'd never been abroad at 14. I'd been to Germany with school, but I'd never been to like a holiday with my family abroad, and I just hadn't. I had never been on a plane. So this whole thing was just magical. It was escapism. This was amazing. Now, what I'm aware of is, I think maybe some certain liberties and stereotypes are taken.
100%.
Oh, good. Yeah, I thought so.
The music to me feels like an English version of Greek music.
Yeah, that's my worry. I would also point out, you aren't Greek. Just because you've been to Greece doesn't mean you are an expert. So we're still not really.
Podcast Greek expert.
I think we need to remember that neither of us know what we're talking about.
You know, and not everywhere in Greece has those beautiful white houses, apartments that you see. You know, it is very, very different.
It was filmed in Mykonos, to give it its due. Yeah. It was filmed actually in Greece.
I think that's
like
one of the
Liverpool.
most Greek-looking Greek places that were possibly filmed. So they have found.
It feels stereotypical.
Like one of the things that I find quite funny about films like this now, as we look at it through modern eyes, is like, back then when it was actually filmed, it was like the dream to go to somewhere where it's like you know what, you know, I'll bring the James Bond films into this now. When you're watching the James Bond films in the 80s, and they went to all these exotic locations that were unreachable, they're all reachable now, so it kind of loses its appeal a little bit. And like, you know, Shirley Valentine, I'm going to Greece. Like, it's only Greece. What's the big issue? You know,
I know.
Modernised. Where back then, as you said earlier on the podcast, nobody went on holidays back then.
Not like that.
Nobody went to Butlins and
So we're in Greece and we find Shirley, and she has found a little beach, a little sort of area, like a secluded part of it, and she started talking to Rock.
Rock has replaced the wall.
Absolutely. And we find out from her chats to Rock and to us that Jane has left her. She doesn't make it beyond the plane.
Jane's met somebody on the plane and said, I'm going for one night, don't hate me for it.
And
it's like half a week or something.
And Shirley is not undeterred. Does that make sense? Not undeterred. She is undeterred.
She's enjoying her own company.
She is, because she's used to it.
And I think when we get later on back to Jane, I'd rather be in my own company.
Oh God, yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely annoying.
But she's enjoying herself, and she's having some nice times on the beach, and she's also happy to eat on her own in the restaurant. But the people from the coach and the aeroplane are not. And it's like, come on, love.
Don't be sat by yourself.
Come on, love. We can't have this.
Like one of the worst Manchester accents you've
Well,
on.
can I just point out though? So the woman who gets her to come over, that couple are called in this Jeanette and Dougie, because we hear Shirley say it's been like I'd been rescued from loneliness by Jeanette and Dougie from Manchester.
Yeah,
and when I was writing my last book, I had to think of the names of two characters who were the estranged grandparents of my main character. And they're not massively in it. They're in it a bit, but and they get called Grandma and Grandad, really. But their real names, I called them Jeanette and Dougie.
Right.
And it's based on this film. It's an homage. It's an homage. Yeah, they're from Manchester as well.
I love this where, like, you know, and this is the typical Britishness of going abroad. They go abroad and complain that the food isn't British.
And this is,
You know.
and part of me thinks it's more stereotypes of, you know, British holidaymakers abroad, but I also do think that's based on some things.
No, but I think that was that in
It
the
did
day.
feel like that.
In the day. And I love the monologue Shirley gives at this moment about how Greeks and the wheel and things like that, which is obviously a throwback to the assembly, the most important thing man invented, the wheel. Because and it lists a lot of achievements that the Greeks have done.
Like the jacuzzi from Kmart/MFI.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of cringy comedy about like some Brits abroad, which again, like I say, is based on truth, I guess, but also feels awful now. And also fascinating how far we've come, because when the annoying woman asks the waiter what she's eating, he basically says it's calamari. And Shirley goes, oh, it's nice, the squid, isn't it? And like the woman like faints under the table because she's eating squid. And okay, I don't like calamari, to be fair, but you know, it's on many a menu. It's not a problem. So it just shows again the difference and how things have changed in terms of our menus and appetites in the UK.
But I do like after this scene where the Greek waiter kind of bonds with her a little bit, then become friends. She wants to sit here.
Absolutely.
I don't think I'll be welcome with them and stuff. And it's a nice scene, and it shows how she's settling into Greece much easier than she's not the stereotypical Brits.
And so what happens next is one of my favourite scenes. I have two massively favourite scenes, and this is one of them. And again, it's just because I was lapping this up as my way of being able to travel vicariously. I didn't want to be the annoying people in the restaurant. I wanted to be Shirley. And so after dinner, she escapes, and she sort of, we see all the Brits doing like, you know, awful stereotypical dancing. Yeah, and it's just very touristy and very cringe. But she escapes that, and she walks and just takes herself off along a little coastal path along the beach. And she finds a taverna by the sea, and there's a kind of a Greek guy playing the acoustic guitar outside. It's really beautiful.
No, he's inside, and you just see.
It's just on the steps, like on it's open windowy thing. And he comes to get her a drink, and she has this whole dream that she's had for a long time. She wants to sit and drink a glass of wine where the grape is grown,
next to the coastline.
Yeah, by the sea. And so she explains that to him, kind of. And he looks a bit sort of, you know, bemused, confused, whatever, and gets a table and chair to the seashore. And she sits down and she drinks, and it's Retsina. And I love Retsina also. Not the point, I know, but anyway.
I will have to point out that this Greek man that she meets is Tom Conti.
It is.
With a spray tan.
I know.
Black hair dye and a stick-on tash.
I know. Now, we have to discuss this.
Take a bit of issue.
It's borderline racist, if not completely racist.
Very. Especially now, I am going to jump forward a little bit to the point where they are on the boat and they jump into the water. And he has you haven't seen, you know. I mean, it just.
Tom wasn't getting sprayed there.
Yeah, it's just like So he's like Tom Conti, he didn't even sound Greek, I will say that.
Okay, so first of all, I think there's something on IMDb about... So, quite rightly, it should have been played by a Greek man.
Yeah.
Quite rightly. Even then.
Yeah.
And definitely would be now. What I think I've read, and I need to maybe tell everybody to fact check this or not take me at my word, but I think I've read somewhere that they kind of got away with it, or at least they've explained it away easier, because he's got some sort of, I don't know, Cypriot heritage somewhere back in the day. I don't know. I've read that somewhere. Maybe it's IMDb trivia. I don't know. Double check that. I feel like he's got away with it because he said that. But there's no doubt he's definitely, if not blacked up, definitely tanned up.
Yes, definitely tanned up.
And
it's like they've probably said to him, right, we're filming in August. You need to go away in July and sit at the side of the beach for like 4 weeks.
I don't know.
We'll stick a tash on.
But it's very difficult.
But he's very good, Tom Conti.
He is very good. And this is a problem I have. As a 14-year-old, I had the biggest crush on him. And imagine my disappointment when I saw him in other stuff. So, yeah, it's a bit grim. And there's an element of, now, I think it's the tash, but it definitely reminds me a little bit of Harry Enfield Scousers and all that. It's a bit, maybe it's just an 80s thing, I don't know. It's a very big tash.
It's
but
like
I really like it.
Really tash you could possibly. I mean, it's like there's no space between hair for hair to grow.
No.
There's that much hair on it.
But, you know, he's a nice guy. Let's just go to let's think about the character from now on. No, I think, we'll talk about this. Because he plays a role, but anyway, we'll get to that. So Shirley's sitting by the beach and the sun sets, it gets dark, she's drinking a wine, and she again gets a little bit maudlin about it. She gets a bit reflective and she starts to sort of be upset. And it's fascinating. You were talking before, you said how the first half of the film in Liverpool, it went really quick, and it was like, 50 minutes, it felt like 10. The pace of life in the UK is, I think deliberately, is very fast, and her story is fast, and it's da-da-da-da, and she's got jobs and she's got chores and she's in and out of the house and she's talking to Gillian and she's talking to Joe. Pace of life in Greece and the Greek part of the film is slow. It's mellow.
I am sure that is only the Greek part of the film. I think I checked this. It was only 37 minutes.
Oh, is
long.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I knew it wasn't half and half, but I wasn't sure. So it really does. It's rolled out with a lot less chopping and changing. We're following the story now in real time as opposed to flashbacks.
Yeah. Well, when I went to Greece, the first time I went to Greece, and you say about the slower pace of life in Greece.
Well, in the film telling of Greece.
Yeah. But this always stuck with me. Greek guy in the hotel that we were staying in, he said, you have GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. He said, we have GMT. He said, but it means something different. Greek maybe time. Maybe we do it, maybe we don't. And that just stuck with me because it is such a slow pace of life over there.
Well, again, can I point out that you are not Greek, nor if you lived in Greece, you've been on one holiday.
I have been
okay, a few holidays. Fine.
Yeah.
My point is, let's not stereotype.
I've probably been to Greece on holiday more than anywhere else. So.
Okay, well, I still feel like we need to not act like you know everything, because we really would need we would need an actual Greek person here to actually talk about this. We are not Greek. We need to accept that.
Can I also add to the podcast who's out of the two of us got the Greek friend? Thanos.
Okay, get him on this and he can tell us about Greek life. We can't, we cannot do it.
I love my mate Thanos. He's a great guy.
Thank you for that. Okay, so she is becoming slightly maudlin about this, and she's sort of talking about, like, why do we get all this life if we don't use it? We just get lost in this unused life. And she's again referring to, like, Shirley Valentine got lost. And I also think, and I don't want to bring the perimenopause into it, as I do.
It is mentioned.
It is mentioned. Well, Joe mentions it later on. Now, at the time then, and even now, at the time then, I thought that was him being ridiculous, because that's just a bloke response of ignorance, right? Now, we do know that perimenopause can start, in the late 30s and I think, so maybe perimenopause has kicked in. The point is, I don't think it was written that way. I don't think it's written that she is going through the menopause or the perimenopause. I think it's written that she's just fed up with putting everyone else first in her life, you know what I mean? So I do think it's written that way. But it also plays out it fits in really well with the sort of women going through peri or meno, in that, where did I go? I've stopped being me. I don't feel like me. Get on the HRT, get on the supplements, do exercise, whatever it is that people do. There's all sorts of things people can do. But that kind of realisation that where did I go, I feel is very, very pertinent. Do you have anything to add from your perspective of the menopause?
I just feel like Joe was giving bad advice when he brings up the menopause.
Okay.
Right. I just want to say that, I imagine he's at home talking to his friends in work, going, I don't know what's going on, and someone will have just said, well, maybe she's going through the menopause, and he's just got that into his head. I don't think he's the expert.
But again, it's ignorance, isn't it? Because he just doesn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So while she's sitting there being a bit upset, we meet Costas, who is the Greek guy who is Tom Conti, and he joins her and sort of, sits with her for a while. And he has a twinkle, and he's attractive, and he walks her back to her hotel. And as they're sort of saying goodbye, he asks if she would go on his brother's boat with him the next day.
Yeah.
Now.
More to line of no fuck. Boat is both.
Boat is both, fuck is fuck. Now, in 1992, on Christmas Day night at 9:50 p.m, when I watched this, it was dubbed as, because the line is some guy, oh, you think I want to make fuck with you?
Yeah.
And the line was, you think I want to make love with you? Which makes sense.
Fair enough.
It's slightly different sort of
BBC.
BBC. So I was quite shocked when I watched this, whenever I watched it, the undubbed version. I went, oh, that's much funnier. That's funnier. And also, that makes more sense because he's not talking about making love. That's crazy. But that's what he does. He says, oh, you worried that's what I'm going to do? No, we're just going to go on the boat and it'll be nice. And she's kind of like, yeah, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? It's sort of, let's take a chance. And she's charmed. So the next day they agree to meet up, but then what's happened? Who comes back? Jane. Jane's had enough of the guy's olives.
I hated this bit. Right?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, she was just annoying. And she was meant to be annoying.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to see screen time with her.
Okay.
I was enjoying Shirley's journey and stuff, and she was just annoying. She was just really, really annoying. And meant to be annoying.
She's meant to be annoying, and she does it very well. Alison Steadman does it very well.
And I just, obviously, she's criticising everything Shirley is doing.
Well, she's been patronising.
And having just done the same thing herself.
Yeah, of course. Because she thinks Shirley has no clue, and she's much more worldly wise. So she comes back into the room and is sort of saying, oh, I bet you've had a terrible time without me. And it is really patronising. Meanwhile, Costas is waiting, so he comes up. And he assumes, which is amusing, that Jane is the cleaner. Yeah. You can carry on cleaning the room. Yeah. And she's just a bit askance at what Shirley's doing. You can't, these Greek Islanders, Shirley, you can't trust them. Anyway, Shirley's annoyed. She goes off, not before suggesting to Jeanette and Dougie in the corridor that maybe they'd like to go and spend some time with Jane at the beach. So that's quite amusing that Jane, as annoying as she is for you, gets her comeuppance by having to then go to the beach with Jeanette and Dougie. But Shirley and Costas have a lovely day on the boat, and it is really lazy and chilled, and sort of they're sitting chatting. And there is a really, really key bit, which again, a lot of this has informed my view of the world, where she's saying, most men don't listen. They'll say, what's your favourite season? And you say, spring. And then they go, oh, mine's summer. And then you have a whole load of time talking about where they like summer. And you weren't talking about summer, you're talking about spring. Right, I've kind of paraphrased it. You do that.
Sorry, what were you saying?
You do that. Well, you'll ask me a question, or I guess you do it to other people. Ask me a question, I'll answer it, and then you'll then use it as a reason to talk all about the thing you wanted to talk about, which was vaguely related to the initial question, right? You do that a lot.
Telling me you're going to Greece.
You're doing it a lot. All I'm saying is, I do think that is a really good observation about people.
It is.
And that's not changed over the time. That stands up, you know. A lot of this is about human nature, which doesn't necessarily age, you know. But they get on really well. He is charming, he listens, she relaxes and is chilled out. They skinny dip in the sea. And it's so nice. And just, they both just jump off the side of the boat into this deep blue water. She's always said she used to jump off the roof. And this is a whole metaphor for that, isn't it? And she's finding herself again. And then they make fuck with each other.
The English version, they make love.
It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's so... It feels very right in the moment, you're not thinking about the consequences. No one's thinking about Joe. No one needs to. In the moment, they've had a lovely day and they have sex on the boat.
See, I did think about Joe at this
moment.
Did
you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but carry on.
Okay, interesting. Oh, this is really interesting. Joe, I don't know. For me, the second Joe starts moaning about what time his tea is on the table and then throws egg in her lap, I mean, my consideration for his feelings is really not priority. Her feelings have been put on hold for so many years. This is her time. And I think it's a lovely scene in the sense that it's kind of played for laughs. You see the kind of shoreline moving backwards and backwards.
Yeah, I mean, that was like...
Where's that orchestra come from?
Yeah.
All that. And also the line, he kissed my stretch marks.
Yeah.
And he then does a little spiel about, these are signs of life. You can't hide these. Be proud of these. And she does the whole, "Oh, men full of shit," which I love that delivery. That whole little, it's a real little comedy set piece, but I think it works well because it takes away, it sort of stops any over soppiness or over romanticism. There's nothing to be soppy about her. She just had a really nice day. And she says to the voiceover, she says she's fallen in love, but it's not with him, it's with the idea of living.
In Greece, yeah.
Well, the idea of living anywhere, I would imagine. And that feels like it's been a long time since she's felt like she's been living. Meanwhile, back at rainy old Liverpool, Joe is talking to the wall. And I absolutely love that we see him talking to the wall because it's like it's an inevitability for anyone who's trapped.
Yeah.
It's not just Shirley losing her mind. It's anyone stuck in a situation.
But the one thing I didn't like about this scene,
Okay.
there was loads of food piled up, loads of dishes piled up, and it was like, he's just incapable of looking after himself.
But do you not think he was incapable of looking after himself?
No.
I do.
So,
When was the last time he cooked a meal?
well, there's obviously meals that he cooked there. So.
No, because she says she's got a mum to unfreeze stuff. When she's planning to go for 2 weeks, Shirley says to Melandra or to somebody, she's got her mum to come around and defrost something every day or something. So that's all been, she's prepped all that.
But
It's not him.
he's capable of doing dishes, he's capable of tidying up.
I would argue he is not.
It's a bit cliched.
It's really interesting. I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody who was talking about how their dad is late 70s, absolutely hopeless without their mum. The mum was there just for going out. About how they didn't know how to boil rice. And their mum was having to explain. She'd left a cooked chilli and she'd left 60 grams of rice in a pan. And she was explaining to the husband how to boil the rice when she was out. And the person I was talking to was saying, "Oh, I can't believe how incapable my dad was. Like, surely you can boil rice." And I do think there is a generation of men, and obviously this guy, Joe, is younger, but it's the same generation. He would be 70 odd, 80 odd now. The generation of men, and not all men. My dad certainly could cook rice if he had
My
to.
dad could.
Exactly.
So this
but
is
there's a
where I'm coming
difference.
from.
Well, I don't think my family setup is like this, but I do think my friends' families setups were like that.
What I will always add to this, right? And people like they're trying to perceive Joe.
Yeah.
Anyone who I've known, male, who can't cook, they can always do one dish. You know,
Okay,
whether
that's
it's like
interesting. I think some people don't.
spag or whether it's scouts or something. So they could live.
I genuinely think there are some people in marriages, heterosexual marriages as well. There's some people, some men who've done that whole go to work, come home, wife's done the kids and the food, who have literally not cooked a meal since maybe they were like, I don't know, a kid after school or whatever. You know what I mean? I just think there are some men, not everyone, like you say, not your dad, not my dad. But certainly my friend who I spoke to's dad, who just had no clue how to make some rice, it's just interesting. I don't think he is a stereotype as much as you do, but we'll see. We'll talk about it properly at the end. But I do enjoy the fact that he started talking to the wall, and he's a bit bewildered. He just doesn't get it. He's in shock. Why should you do this wall? Why should you do this wall? But Shirley, Greek Shirley, is living her best life. We see a shop, it's a bit of a montage, shopping in town, buying fruit at market stalls, eating in cafes, and she ends up being invited to Costas' niece's wedding just because they sort of walk past her while she's sitting in the square. And what I like, and you will definitely have picked up on this with your hairdressing background, you will notice that her tight curly perm in Liverpool has sort of relaxed and grown out a bit while she's in Greece.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it would have happened in the 2 weeks.
Well, the difference in water tech.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
The water over there doesn't have the same chemicals in as over here, so your hair is different. So when you go abroad, your hair feels different.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But I like the way that kind of her relaxes as she does, basically. But while this is all going on and she's having such a good time, she's having big thoughts. She does say, who would really care if she didn't go home? No one, really. There'd be a bit of a fuss at first, but it'd die down. No one would actually miss her. She's not needed. And she's just so determined not to return to being Shirley Bradshaw, that kind of stuck in the ruts, unhappy person. And while she's pondering all this, she kind of inadvertently ends up working at the taverna at Costas's bar, because she's sort of blending in so much that people assume that she works there, so they ask her for 2 coffees or whatever it is, and she just gets them. And she just very naturally has blended into life in this island, in this little area. Now, Alison Steadman, Jane, very much is Loads of people go on holiday every year, Shirley. Loads of people think it's so good they don't want to come home. Get over it. That's her view.
Yeah.
She just thinks she's being silly. And because the 2 weeks is over. And so she has to say goodbye to Costas, and she has to get on the coach to the airport.
The bags are on the coach. Really, come on. Stop taking a while. The bags are on the coach. And she's like panicking, isn't she? It's like, she might stay here.
I think she just, Jane feels like she's responsible for her, maybe. She's very patronising, as though she surely can't do anything herself. So she gets on the coach, they get to the airport, and as Shirley watches her luggage go down the conveyor belt, having been checked in, she just thinks, nope, no way. And she legs it, and she goes back to the resort. Jane is left high and dry. So what I love here is how the next bit, my view changed over time. So when I was 14, I watched this, and what happened is that we see Shirley go back to the taverna. And as she walks in, Costas is chatting up another woman saying, do you want to go on my brother's boat tomorrow? Oh, you think I'm going to make book with you?
Same line.
Exact line. And I was heartbroken when I watched that at 14 because I wanted them to be together forever.
See, I like the fact that she has that wry smile on her face.
Now, this is where I love it because I think, yes, he had a role to play and he played that role beautifully. Costas, I'm not talking about Tom Conti. Costas had a role to play, which was to give Shirley a really good time and make her feel special and show her there was more to life. Now, not him, but life, embracing opportunities, taking risks, whatever it is. And so now I see it as being that it was a catalyst and, and she doesn't, as she says, she's come back not for him, but for a job because she wants to hang around. So he's the perfect holiday shag, basically. Back at the airport, which I'm assuming is Manchester, or meant to be Manchester, God knows where they filmed it. Joe is waiting with a big bouquet of flowers. Yeah. Now I slight bit of sympathy here. It's too little, too late. Ultimately, he should have been nice. No. He should have been nicer back in the day.
Right.
He should have been nicer back in the day. He's treated her. He's taken her for granted.
Okay,
he's treated her badly. We'll take this outside. Yeah. So he is there with a big bouquet of flowers, presumably because people have told him he has to do it. I can't imagine he will have thought about wanting to waste money on flowers, for example. And Jane turns up and just dumps her suitcases on his feet and goes, "I'm sorry, Joe," and it sort of goes off, and he's just left. He's left. It's just, it's too little, too late. And I feel sorry for him a bit, but I just think, that's what happens. And we're back in Greece and we see Shirley being truly happy. We see a lovely shot where she's in I guess it's a hotel or a little balcony of a room somewhere, and she opens it up, gets out of bed, puts on Gillian's kimono or whatever you call it, sort of robe, and just looks out to the sea. And it's lovely. It's a stunning little, what a life that must. She looks like she's living her best life. It's beautiful. Joe rings her. He's not listening. He doesn't listen. This is the problem. She's a disgrace, apparently. He's a laughingstock. Okay. And he rips out the phone in anger. Another sign that, like the egg scene where he launches the egg into her lap, where he is quite aggressive. It's not great. Not a great scene. He's not learning anything from it, certainly. He's very much still thinking about himself and how it affects him. And eventually we see their son Brian, the street poet in Kirby.
In where?
In where? Telling him, look, go to Greece. He's like, I'll go to Greece. I'm bloody at work.
He's the boss of where?
It does seem that way, yeah.
He says, you're the boss.
Yeah, okay.
He goes, in fact, no, it's actually Joe's line. He says, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
He will run the shop and all this.
And Brian does say you might not like his accent, his attempt at his accent, but he does say some interesting things. He says, what is it with people when they get old? You're frightened of anything that's different.
And you used to be interesting.
I used to like you.
Yeah.
And Joe is so resistant, but that nails it. Just like Shirley Bradshaw got old and sort of stuck in a rut and got lost all of its sense of who she was. You could argue the same is for Joe. And this is, gender roles don't suit anybody. Toxic masculinity does not help men, so it doesn't help women. Back at the tavern, Shirley gets a telegram. I love this line. It just makes me laugh. She gets a telegram from Joe, and Costa's like, is everything okay? And she goes, oh, it's Joe. He's coming to get me. Bless him. He must have been watching Rambo.
It's your podcast.
Oh, God. So I love that. But Costas, again, he was the ideal holiday shag, but he's not the ideal partner because he immediately makes an excuse why he can't be there when Joe turns up, which is so funny. And she doesn't need him there. She's, he did his job, which was to, basically give her a job and make her feel happy about herself. But she doesn't need him, so she's like, fine. And I think it's like the next night or the next few nights, it's the evening of Joe's arrival. And this is my absolute favourite scene, and we wait for the end of it. We have to wait all the way through. Shirley sets up a little table by the seashore again, like we saw her sit at the beginning. And there's 2 chairs, and there's a jug of Retsina. Again, I love this wine. It's very hard to get. You don't get it in supermarkets. A jug of Retsina and 2 chairs and 2 glasses. And she sits there. She puts her sunglasses on, and the sun is kind of setting. It's evening. And in the distance, along the kind of the path, we see somebody walking. And it is Joe. And he,
in a suit.
In a suit.
Yes.
And he is boiling. And he's got a big suitcase that he's lugging. It's proper heavy. And he looks so uncomfortable and so out of, fish out of water. This is not his natural environment. A bit like when he put his head around the kitchen earlier on. And he takes a while to walk. And again, the pace of life, the pace of the film in the Greek section, we watch him walk gradually, until eventually he walks to her table. And he kind of gives her a polite nod and walks past. And
she does have the biggest sunglasses.
They're big sunglasses. Yeah. But, it's his wife of over many years. Come on.
I did get a bit confused this point, going like, why is she recognised that? And obviously it's basically trying to show she's so relaxed, she's changed woman.
Her hair is not tight, firm, it is straight.
It's blow dried.
But what she says as he's approaching, she basically says, oh God, he needs a holiday, I hope he stays for a bit. And she recognises that he's as damaged, as broken, if you like, as she was, and she's not anymore. So she's now got the space and she's healed enough to be able to recognise his pain. And that is I think that's an interesting point about when you are broken, you can't see anyone else's suffering, but when you are healed, you can see that other people need help as well, and he needs help too. They both did it all the way through, but he now needs it. So he walks straight past, and she turns around and shouts him back, and she says, and again, it's a slightly cliched, but it's perfect for a stage. I used to be the mother, I used to be the wife, but now I'm Shirley Valentine again. Would you like to join me for a drink? And that's it. That's the last line. We see them.
And they sit
down, and kind of the camera pans away, and you see them sort of have some words. So they're talking, and the sun sets in the sea over the backdrop of it, and the music starts and the titles roll, and that is the end of the film. So what did you think? Because you've kept tight-lipped all the way through this.
So with this whole story, right, I can see Shirley's story, and what they don't do very well is tell Joe's story.
It wasn't Joe's story to tell.
No, but you say he possibly abusive as well. I didn't pick up on any of that. Yes, the scene where he rips the phone out of the side was a bit poor.
It's angry man.
And also the pushing of the plate was a bit poor. Right?
It was really horrible.
I feel like Joe was in exactly the same situation as Shirley, right? And I felt sorry for him. Right?
All the way through?
I just felt like, obviously she's gone off and having this amazing time. No. She's done fuck on both boats. And Joe's at home longing for his wife.
Okay.
And I feel like he's made mistakes and she's made mistakes. Yeah.
Can I just take you back? When I said, do you feel sorry for him all the way through? Forget Greece for a minute. Think about the beginning. Do you feel sorry for him at the beginning when his tea is not on the table at the right time?
Right. I feel like they've both worked themselves into a rut, and he's doing the breadwinner stuff, like it was in the 80s, right?
And she brought the kids.
She brought up the kids, which is a really tough job.
Which is unpaid work, so it's even worse.
Really tough job, and they got into a routine, and I know people who they have sausage, chips, and beans.
Oh, I do.
I
do too. So well, that doesn't mean it's
right. Expected, and I don't think he's great, right? I don't think he's great in how he is, but I just feel that's both of them together have got to that point where they're unhappy, but they're not unhappy with each other, they're just unhappy with life, right?
I think they are unhappy with life, but I think they're also unhappy with each other. She's very unhappy with him.
I think,
and she only realises it partway through the film.
Well, I think when it ends and they're sat down on the table, my perception of what happened afterwards, because I always do this, they reconcile, they find that joy that they had when they were doing the paint fight, because they do love each other. They just got into a bit of a rut in life and they found themselves again.
I disagree. So I love the ending because I love an ambiguous ending, and
Yeah. I always have to know what's going on.
No, I
want Shirley Valentine too to see what's going on.
I hate sequels. No, I love the ending. What I think is my dream, and like what I think would happen next. I think it would be really nice for Joe to stay in Greece for a week or two. I think Shirley's right. He needs a holiday because I agree with you. He's also stuck in a rut and all that kind of stuff. But what I do think is that their marriage is over.
Yeah.
I don't think they can get it back. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be acrimonious and filled with hate and start screaming at each other. I think what they had is gone because they've let it go without meaning to, maybe, but they've let it go. So I think they maybe have a lovely holiday and maybe they go back home and try and work something out. But I think certainly everything has to change for it to be. Everything has to change. He has to cook. He has to take more time off work or something. She has to do. They have to do all sorts. We don't need to get Freud in to understand that this is maybe where I decided I wasn't going to change my name when I got married. I was not going to be Shirley Bradshaw. So that's the whole thing. All my views are basically based on this film, I think. I have never intended and never planned and have made sure that I don't have a role in my marriage where I do all of the house stuff. It's 50-50. Actually, it's not. My partner does more than 50 because I don't do much of it. I'm fascinated how this translates to a 2025 audience, but you said you thought it was okay?
Yeah, I thought it was a good film.
No, I mean, in terms of how does it translate? I
didn't have any issues other than Tom Conti.
There's a bit of yeah.
Yeah. Greeked up, we'll call it.
Greeked up. The vast majority of this film was not filmed in Liverpool. Certainly, it was.
I have an issue with that.
Okay, in Greece, it was Mykonos, so we can say the Greek part was in Greece. The Liverpool part, there is a website, and it's called realstreets.com, and there'll be a link in the show notes. And there are 2 times in the whole of the Liverpool part that are actually filmed in Liverpool. And the one is when Shirley's walking along a shopping street while she's buying stuff for a trip, and it's just by the exit to Central Station, looking to Church Street. Yeah. And then the bookshop while she picks up a Greek phrase book.
Yes.
That's Blackwell's on Brownlow Hill.
Right,
so that's there.
Yeah.
But there is a website where it has all of them broken down. A lot of them are like London, Twickenham. And then finally, just to finish, Roger Ebert.
Oh. We're starting to quote him now.
Well, I'm not quoting it. Well, it's an interesting review.
Yes.
1 star. 1 star.
Well, he's a bit of a tit.
He didn't get it. And I do think it doesn't translate necessarily to an American audience. He basically said, if there's a shred of plausibility in the film, it comes from Bernard Hill's performance as Shirley Valentine's husband. He isn't a bad bloke, just a tired and indifferent one. When he follows his wife to Greece at the end of the film, there are a few moments so truthful that they show up the artifice of the rest. And I genuinely think... And I'm a bit like you sort of really felt sorry for Joe all the time. I didn't. I thought he was not abusive, but certainly impossible to live with. And I think Shirley should have left years before. And when she finally gets the courage she does, I do feel like there must be a gender divide in response to this film in terms of how you feel. I mean, I just...
Because, I don't think Joe was abusive. I don't think he was great.
No,
right? But he wasn't doing anything majorly bad, right?
He was an angry man.
I don't think
he came out. Well, he ripped out a phone and he threw egg in it. Yeah, but that came through as tired, led to anger.
Yeah. But anyway, agree to disagree, which is part of the podcast.
It speaks to my very soul. That's all I'm saying. Okay, but next week it's your turn to pick a film. Do I need to dread it?
Definitely.
Oh God, what have you made me watch?
Well, if you want to know, you'll have to wait and see.
And if people want more, where can they find you?
I'm at Toffee's Auras on YouTube.
And I'm at the Lisa McCauliffe Stories online and nickybond.com. Okay, thanks for listening, everyone.
And thank you. We'll see you later.
Bye.